So, what can I tell you, folks? This week is getting off to a rollicking start, isn't it? I am sure you have heard the news by now. The big news that 5 men have decided that if you are a woman in the United States of America, those 5 men have decided that your boss can have a say in your medical decisions. Isn't that nice? Isn't that great? Isn't that wonderful that they're affirming that the boss should care about their employees' medical decisions, that their boss can control an employee's medical decisions? Isn't that great? These are, by the way, the same 5 men who a few years ago ruled that corporations are people, and on Monday they ruled that those for-profit corporations' religious beliefs trump a woman's right to health care. I am, of course, referring to, if you haven't heard, I don't know where you've been, but if you haven't heard, this is, of course, the Supreme Court Hobby Lobby birth control decision. We're going to go into it in much greater detail and all the other bloody, horrible Supreme Court decisions later on in the show with Dahlia Lithwick. But we're going to take a little time on Hobby Lobby right now because, dear God, this one is a doozy. It is so horrible, and the logic behind it is so twisted, and the implications of this ruling are so big. I mean, it seriously could be Citizens United big in terms of how we live in the United States. It is so twisted. So in the decision, the right-wingers of the court claim that they say, don't worry, the right-wingers say. No. This is a limited ruling. It's not a big one. Don't worry, it's not that big of a deal. They say that the godly Hobby Lobby doesn't have to pay for certain types of health care, but that only applies to some corporations, something called a closely held corporation. So, I know when I read the ruling and heard this, one of the first questions that came to my mind is, what exactly is a closely held corporation? It sounds kind of sweet, doesn't it? It sounds nice. It's like, I'm going to hold this corporation close to my heart. It's closely held. It sounds all warm and fuzzy and family-like. So apparently what a closely held corporation is, it is a corporation that has more than half of its stock owned by fewer than 5 people. So that sounds sort of narrow, right? That sounds like a narrow ruling. However, according to Mother Jones, that would apply to 90% of American corporations and 52% of the American workforce. So that sounds narrow, doesn't it? That doesn't sound so bad, right? I mean, it's only 9 out of 10 corporations. It's only half of America's workforce. I mean, that's narrow. It's only half. I mean, if it was 75%, it wouldn't be narrow, but it's only 52%. So it's narrow. It doesn't affect, it doesn't affect 48% of people in America, so hey, narrow. So, you know what? Other than Hobby Lobby, do you know what other company is a, quote, closely held corporation? You know what other company is? Walmart. That's right, Walmart. That small, tiny, ma-and-pa operation Walmart. They're closely held. So really, this is a narrow ruling. It's a narrow ruling. By the way, it doesn't rule out that doesn't apply to other corporations either. They specifically do say it's just for this. But if a non-narrow corporation could sue, there's no reason to think that this Roberts court, this Alito court, wouldn't go that way. Wouldn't apply the same thing to non-closely held corporations. Folks, this ruling is gigantic. It is huge. And why? But seriously though, Justice Alito says we shouldn't worry. No, we shouldn't worry because, while this applies to birth control, I mean, that's only women, right? I mean, only women use birth control. It's not like, that affects men at all either. But no, it just applies to women. Yeah, women, it's not a big deal. It doesn't apply, he actually wrote it doesn't apply to things like blood transfusions. It doesn't apply to things like vaccines, which some religions have objections to. So let me ask, Justice Alito, why doesn't it? Seriously, why the hell not? Why doesn't it apply to blood transfusions? Why doesn't it apply to vaccines? I mean, on the logic of this, if a corporation is a person like you say they are, and that corporate person can say that their religion allows them to make medical decisions for their employees, why the hell doesn't it include blood transfusions and vaccines and stuff like that? Why can't a corporation say that, hey, my religion believes that homosexuality is a sin, therefore I shouldn't have to provide any health care for gay employees. I should be able to fire my gay employees at will. By the way, if you don't know, in most states, it actually is currently legal for employers to fire gay employees just for being gay. That's actually the majority of states right now. There is no protection for gay employees right now in most states. But you know, look, that's the way it is now. But though seriously, if you follow the logic of this ridiculous, horrible Supreme Court ruling, why shouldn't it be, right? I mean, a corporation's religion trumps the rights of being a regular human being, specifically in this ruling of being a woman. You know, in fact, in the dissent, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg wrote the following quote, approving some religious claims while deeming others unworthy of accommodation could be perceived as favoring one religion over another, the very risk the Constitution's Establishment Clause was designated to preclude, end quote. And of course, she's absolutely positively right. So look, friends, listeners, just know the floodgates have been opened. This is going to be one of those rulings that we look back on, like Citizens United, that the implications are going to be horrific and horrible. You know, we should expect a flurry, a hurricane of lawsuits from corporations who claim that law X, whatever it is, violates their religious liberty. And again, what it shows us is women are second-class citizens here in the United States of America. We'll be right back.